everyone. Hope you're well. Welcome to the Budukar Music Conference. We're going to be kicking off the first panel today. We're going to be discussing building a supportive world within the music industry for trans, non-binary, and female identifying individuals. And I'm going to be your host for today. My name is Vanessa, and I'm joined by four amazing panelists. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So first off, we have Jaye Ward.
Oh, hello. I'm Jaye. She, her, they, them, play records. Been at it forever. That's it.
We have June Lam.
Hi, I'm June. He, him pronouns. I am a nightlife producer. I'm a freelance artist. I act and do other bits as well. Yeah, I guess I just. But yeah, I recently, about 2 years ago, I started up a nightlife platform for queer East and Southeast Asians called Pxssy. And about 4 years ago, I co-founded a queer and trans healthcare fund called We Exist, and we've since also produced events and residencies, and raise money for trans and non-binary people. Yeah.
Nadine, Noor.
Hi, I'm Nadine Noor, they, them pronouns, and I am a nightlife worker. I work all across all forms of nightlife, creative producing, and DJing, and do some cultural consultancy as well. But I guess my main focus is nightlife within nightlife for people, for queer and trans, Black and brown people. And about 8 years ago, I founded a little party called Pxssy and I've sort of channeled a lot of my work through that medium. So yeah, that's why I'm on this panel today. Yay.
Yay. And we have Lewis G. Burton.
Hi, I'm Lewis. My pronouns are they, them. I'm an artist and a DJ, and I'm the founder of INFERNO, which is a queer techno rave based in London, come art platform. And I'm also one of the founding members of London Trans Pride, which is an activist group / we do annual Pride March to shut down London and advocate for our rights. And yeah, I do lots of other stuff. I get around.
Yay! I also want to say my pronouns are she, her. So to kickstart the panel, I want to explore first and foremost what a supportive music industry actually looks like. And I want to ask all the panelists, what does it mean to build an inclusive, supportive world within music? And I'm going to ask Lewis first.
I mean, I guess I'm doing that with INFERNO, right? I have taken what I wanted from the scene and left the rest of it and cultivated my own community within it, because I feel the wider electronic music scene overlooks a lot of queer artists in general, or just anybody from a marginalized background, not even queer people. I mean, that's slowly changing now. We have more representation, but I think we've got a long way to go. And yeah, it's about creating your own utopian idea of what community should look like for one night, right? I think that's why we all do what we do.
Nadine, you're nodding. I know with Pxssy Palace, how do you relate to that?
I guess it's just the outside world was not being supportive. So then, just like Lewis said, so we created it for ourselves, and we just had our Pxssy Palace staff party on Thursday, and we had a long form meeting before we had a good time, and it was just it made me sit back, and it wasn't me leading it. It was another my other team of producers that were doing it. So I was just really sit back and watching it. That was the first time that I've done that, and it's just all of these people who have never also done this job, never had a job in nightlife before, who now could go, and if they wanted to get a job at resident advisor, could, from the work that they've done, and they're through a lot of just trial and error. So it's that's what, to me, what feels like building a supportive environment is letting people try things and seeing what they're good at, and lead from their own example and their own experience, because there isn't a lot of entry points for like trans people, like especially like in the wider like dance music scene. So it makes me like I'm still actually like feeling like really rosy and warm from that, like from Thursday. So yeah, I'm staring at it all the time. Like, this is what it looks like to build a supportive environment where we take our mental health and our identity and like what we can and cannot do like into the fold, rather than just trying to produce all the time.
How did you facilitate that meeting? Because I know there's like loads of different ways that people sort of like come together in groups. And I think it's always interesting to see how you open that conversation up for people to like feed into.
Yeah.
You said that you took a step back. Like, does everyone get a chance to pitch in and ask about? Yeah.
So two producers just gave everybody like updates of what was happening or what's coming up the next year, where there's time for progress and more like opportunity that's coming next year for the wider team, and then the floor opens to people to air out like grievances, things that they're a little bit confused about, and then everyone like just sort of chimes in. And yeah, there was a few things that people were like, we always like lead with things because it's really difficult, especially when there's also like power dynamics within the group as well, like, and who's like got more work or who's in charge and stuff like that. So but we always lead it with like, conflict is good. You know, conflict helps us like get to the next point, so don't be afraid. And if you are, then you can just like take us aside or write us an email like afterwards and then talk about it there. But yeah, everyone's really like open about like how they feel about stuff. Like, for example, we do like a PP support training, so it's like we do quite an extensive training to for how people can like be in the space to look after. They're just like a sort of other version of like security, and they've got like accountability training, like first aid, de-escalation and stuff like that. But this whole time we weren't actually paying them for any time we did that training. So they've been doing this training and no one thought to like, oh, that should be paid. And someone said, hey, next time we do some training, can we get paid? And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, just nobody had thought about that before. So like things like that to get, like, I would feel like that was quite a brave thing to like bring up. But yeah, they're in an environment where they feel like they can do that.
I was about to say, you've created that and cultivated that, which is amazing. Jay, how do you relate to that, and what does a supportive, inclusive world mean to you?
I do a party in Bristol, and the last 10 years it's more of a family type thing, but now we've got a security firm that we've sort of instigated.
Nice.
That's queer run, and they do training.
Just in Bristol?
Yeah. I mean, I'm based in London, but I do it there.
Yeah.
But and it's been going about 6 months, and since it started, they've already moved out to your normal standard, you know, cis bloke. And we've had training, and we've said to them, like, look, you know, queer people are here, and we're not just in our own little kind of bubbles. We're going to pubs, we go out to eat, you know, we you know, and you just got to learn respect. And so far it's been really good.
Yeah. But
we've had to have having our own sort of safe welfare officers at parties. We do a little mini rave festival down in Cornwall, and we've employed quite a lot of our family, or not family, you know, people that have always come to work it and stuff, and so far so good, you know. But I come from, before I transitioned, you know, I come from a straight blokey house and techno 90s, start at the end of the 80s kind of thing, you know. And they don't care. You know, and you have to make these things outside and away from them. It's the only, it sounds defeatist, but it's not. It's you're just doing it yourself. You know, you have to, you know, we're building a sound system at the moment because we're kind of thinking that, well, we'll own the sound as well.
Yeah, you know? Absolutely.
And it's not about queer liberation, it's about it's practical. It's literally to do it.
Self-sustainability.
Yeah, and just to have them sort of people not involved. You know, we do a thing that they've started to do at Maracas in Barcelona, because we were doing it. I went and played there a few times, where people buy the tickets, anyone can come, but we, you know, if there's a load of blokes, we go up to them and say, look, this is not for you, is it? You know, you're not really having fun, are you? You look a bit defensive. Come on, I'll give you your money back in cash at the door. Go on. And they're like, what? And like, you know, we give them the money and they go.
Yeah.
And being proactive like that that's quite liberating. So just, we're not saying we don't want you there, but
I am.
You're you're standing out, you know, you're sticking out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
You know, you look really defensive. There's lots of queerness going on in front of you, right? Because it's our thing. Come, here's your money back.
Yeah.
Go. And they go. They're like, huh? What? And then they're gone. And being proactive is the only way.
Yeah. With this security group that you've put together, are they just going to be just based in Bristol?
No.
Just because I'm always like excited about, like, ideally we'd have like nationwide security reform. So anytime that someone's got the energy to like put together their own security team, I'm like, we need you, come here.
There's 6 people so far.
Yeah.
It's Bristol. I mean, Bristol's weird. I mean, I come from London, and Bristol is a little bubble of differentness. It thinks differently. It's a bit like Leeds. It's a kind of people's republic. It's very hippie-like, you know.
Yeah.
So the resistance actually wasn't there.
Yeah.
And actively, like Ola, who runs the security, she's gone out. She's been proactive and gone to these, like the normal security firms that are run Bristol, and said, look, you know, we're not the only people doing this. We're not the only party like this. Big Duck Energy's moving there, you know, and they're going to do the same sort of thing, you know. We just, you know, if you want to work, hey, look, you can come and work here. Yeah. But you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to learn this. Yeah. And you've just got to not be an idiot. Yeah. So far, so good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
No, it's incredible. It's like ownership as well, and being able to...
I think ownership's really important because, like Lewis was saying about us all being visible now, it doesn't really make a difference. No offence. Yeah. You know, we can be as tran as we like, you know, but the means of production is still, you know, white, straight blokes, you know, and they're entrenched. I don't mean to, I'm not having to go at any blokes here. I'm just saying that, like, that's a real structure, you know, and they don't care. That, you know, we are...
They care if they're making money.
Pardon? They care if they're making money, yeah.
Or that it makes them look good.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you know what? I'm not even sure if that... the unreconstructed white blokes that I know just don't engage. It's going to take a lot more.
Right.
You know, we think it's...
That's because it's possible to disengage and still, like, have a platform.
Yeah, they can, exactly. They can do that, yeah.
June, I wanted to ask you how you related to all the topics that sort of come up, like supportive spaces and also ownership. Like, how does that relate to your practice and the work that you do?
Ownership, supportive spaces. I mean, so I didn't, like, set out to become a nightlife producer at any point.
Sorry,
I just, like, kind of, like, the ownership, I guess, is in the sense that, like, I'm a raver, and I find a very liberatory space, and there aren't very many queer ESEA-centered rave spaces, or trans-centered rave spaces, and so ownership very much felt like embodiment in terms of, like, what do I need? What's like, I don't feel centered in any of the spaces where I go, and I know that there are people like me who are also not feeling centered. A part of that was also seeing, like, you know, having queer and trans ESCA, East and Southeast Asian like artists in my network and not feeling like they're getting platformed to the level that they should be. And so I think I'm just someone, I'm like, oh, I like to do things, and I'm like, well, I'll make a platform for you so that people can see you perform, people can like see how, these amazing DJs and artists and like performance artists and filmmakers. I'm like, okay, well, I'll just make a platform for that. And I'm really lucky that's, well, maybe not lucky, but I'm like, yes, people respond because there are people in my position who like need that space and who like need to feel seen.
Something that's come out with what everyone said is like the power of like community, I guess, like the connections with people, and like that has been a source of inspiration for creating platforms and spaces. I wanted to ask you, like, what does community mean to you in that respect, June?
What does community mean to me? Well, for me, like my queer and trans family, my ESCA family, like that, they are family. I'm using that word family because that's what it is for me. Like I don't have like, I think a lot of people lucky enough to have like a close ties with their biological family and feel like their queerness has been seen. I've not been that fortunate. Like that's not an experience I've had until very recently. Like having my biological family maybe starting to accept me very slowly, but like I've been queer my whole life. So it meant that like as soon as I kind of like stepped out into the world of like, organizing and of that life, like I needed to really like, I didn't have any other choice than to depend on the people around me for all of those things that we get from like our biological families. Like I needed to get that from community. And I think, feeling able to kind of, fall down in those spaces or like to be lifted up when, like, like lifting up while lifting other people up and having that experience has allowed me to kind of like continue doing this work.
That's amazing. It's almost like your community has met your unmet needs.
Exactly.
And it has the power to do that, which is so transformative. Lewis, I know you've done so much work with Inferno. Like, how do you relate to community Inferno, and like where does like the support come into that, and how has it transformed, I guess, you as an individual? I know there's a big one there.
Ooh, I like a big one. I guess it's changed a lot. I think for me, a lot of it's been about knowing the legacy of queer nightlife. So like queers have been running away to queer clubs for hundreds of years, to major cities where they can find community, they can find family, they have safety to express themselves and live life authentically. So I'm super aware of the history of like queer nightlife, and it's about carrying on that legacy. Always has been.
Yeah.
As somebody who came from a small mining village on the outskirts of Newcastle, like there was no like visible queer representation. So for me, coming to London, it allowed me to have like my second teenagehood. It allowed me to like live my life authentically. It allowed me to express myself, dress the way I wanted to dress, fuck the people I wanted to fuck without any shame, and like just have a good time and be celebrated for that, right? So I think that's what community is, and that's what Inferno has been. It's about carrying on that legacy, giving people a safer space in the outside world than outside society to dress up and express themselves, explore their sexuality, explore their gender identity, celebrate who they are, celebrate their creativity and their talents.
Yeah. You spoke about like you're coming from a mining village and your background a little bit. I wanted to touch more on like how your background has influenced your approach to like advocacy work and just all the things that you're talking about, which like even when you speak, it's infectious. Like I'm like, I want to be part of that.
Yeah, so I'm from a really working class family. Like my grandparents are miners. The obviously mining trade is no longer a thing up north anymore. So yeah, from working class villages on the outskirts of Newcastle, and as a result, I guess there's a lot of trauma that comes with being working class that maybe we don't speak about, and how that intersects with things like queerness and shame. And I had a lot of shame about being queer growing up because I was always this like fat, really effeminate person, and I was never celebrated for that. I was shamed a lot for that by whether it was my family or friends, school, whatever, So I didn't have a space to be authentic and to honor myself. So running away to London allowed me to find friends that allowed me to, tackle that shame head on, become free of it, and learning that being vulnerable and sharing our stories and expressing ourselves, no matter whether that's through music or art or our creativity, is just such a beautiful thing and a gift that I want to share with my community.
Yay.
Me?
Yes.
Oh,
How
okay.
you were nodding your head and
Oh God,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I came out as trans before, like in the 80s,
Wow.
and then I kind of undid it all for the 90s, and the sort of 20 years sort of spent trying to find the language. Yeah. And when I came out in the first time, it was like being there wasn't queer the queer like we see now didn't exist. It was really framed within a gay world, a gay man's world. So I, and that wasn't for me. And I think that, and I'm from around here, so my family were just like, oh, you're a puff. That's how we're going to deal with that. And I didn't have the language to explain what I was, and so I didn't stay long, in that gay world because it wasn't for me. And queer now gave me the language to come back out again, I mean, my partner, I've been with her 33 years, and she knew me when I were kind of coming out of being, I don't like the word detransition because I'm sorry, there's no such thing as that, right? Once you start, the momentum will always be with you, in some way. And so she was like, you need to find, you're falling apart, you need to find a way to do this. And queer, I started, the internet. And this has got nothing to do with like nightlife. This is a personal thing, And then when I realised, oh, there's such a thing as like butch trans women, and I was, I'm literally was like, I ran to my wife and said, look, but even that I didn't know how to engage. I just did it, and my life kind of my previous life kind of melted away. Especially I had a really successful night going on. I had lots of stuff going on, and then it just went, because it was before we became visible, But queer now, the family thing, the chosen family thing, they just went, Dan Bowman from Superstore.
Yeah.
I'd known him like a long time, and when I came out again, like he messaged me and said, come here. Because I've just not gone, I couldn't go to those places because it was so sort of triggering a little bit, I didn't know how to engage. But it's taken a while for me to sort of embed again. But but queer's different from gay. I mean, it's a different game. It's about inclusivity. It's politicized. It's intersectional, which are things even now you don't see in the gay world. Definitely gay men's world. It's not intersectional. There's still racism. There's still bullshit. You know what I mean? So queer, the community. I didn't know I was looking for it until I found it. And once I found it, I was like, oh, I don't identify particularly as being queer, but I identify with being part of that community. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Like, maybe because I'm old, it's too late for me to start sticking loads more labels on me.
Or it's just not needed.
No.
Yeah.
It's so kind of encompassing and broad, and everyone's. I'm gonna say that queer is really geeky. Everyone's really intersectional. Everyone's really aware of each other. It's really nerdy. And I was like, oh wow, is this what it is?
Yeah. I like queer is nerdy.
It is nerdy, yeah.
Nadine, how do you relate to that? Is that
what queer is nerdy? Yeah, I mean, I'm nerdy, so I'm also queer. But yeah, I like what you say. You said something. You said something that reminded me that like what I like to tell myself is like queer is like boundless, you know, like, and like transness is boundless, you know.
Once
so
you start, that's it.
kind of like what I was like feeling like cute too. And I was also laughing about the detransition thing because I jokingly say that I'm a detransitioner. So like but just to like, because there's loads of stuff about detransitioning like out there, like over 70% of people who have detransitioned still identify as trans. They just didn't or couldn't medically transition, which was true for me. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I mean, I give out mixed messages to lots of people. I don't really care. But
like, confuse them.
But people are like, you know, which way you going? And, like, and I kind of know that that's the aim. For some people, it's not conscious. But I think that once you, it's like being queer. Once you do it, you're always doing it. You know, even if you're not actively doing it. You know, like I don't tran anymore. You know.
So once you're one of us, you're one
That's
of
it.
us
It's done.
forever.
You're marked for life.
One of us.
Yeah.
Can't revoke the membership.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I sometimes call like some things I call like Pxssy Palace like a like reverse conversion therapy, because the amount of like people that like come through who are like really like unsure of like maybe their sexuality, their gender, and by the end of the night or the end of like a couple of times that they've been, then they're like, oh yeah, please meet my trans girlfriend, and they're wearing a completely different outfit. It's just like this the club is like this embryo of like play, and play is resistance as well, right? So and if you get to do that like just from one time or like a few times to before you get comfortability, like it can just completely transform. Like even like straight men, they need some place to play. Like you know, I think about, because I do a lot of festivals. I'm very passionate about like festival culture, and it's so funny. All of the men who decide for this weekend, I am going to wear makeup and I'm going to. It's like this. It's because it's like this. Like. Because it's not a lawless place, but like festivals sometimes feel like this lawless place. People are like taking drugs, and there's like you're staying up all night and you're sleeping outside, and they get to be this something else for this moment, and then they go back to like their 9 to 5 and the status quo, and it's like such a shame because that they don't know that could be all the time, and they're getting to play for just this one weekend, like a year or whatever that they do. You know, it's like so play is resistance, and it's like much needed, and the spaces that we cultivate are really, I think that's at the center.
We've got eggs, you know, there's been loads of eggs at our parties and are now transformed in various ways in multiple directions. And that's really cool.
Even me, like when I first started doing it, Pxssy Palace was a house party first, and when we started to come out, it wasn't like there was no like ethos behind it. We were just doing it because we felt safer doing it there. And when we started to think about like coming out of the house, I was like, okay, but if we're gonna do this, I want it to be for like, you know, I want it to be queer, and I want it to be loads of people of color involved, and I want that to be like the focus. And there was like a conversation at the time of like, would that be possible? And I was not brave enough at that time to say I need this for me. Like I was like, no, we need to do it for other people. This community needs that. So the first like maybe good 6 months or a year of Pxssy Palace coming out of the house, like I wasn't saying it was for me. It was like I had to cultivate the community around me to go, okay, now I feel like safe. This is what I needed to feel good enough to come out or to be like the self that I wanted to be and explore my gender and sexuality. Like so like it's, I think a question that or something that got posed is like around a question around the way of like why, you know, like, and really first of all it was I needed it for me, you know. Yes, like all the things that we have cultivated, lots of people like benefit from, like, but I do it for like me first because I need this.
You don't think all club nights are like reflections of who we are? Though?
Absolutely.
Like, we really
like,
are personified in a physical space.
Yeah.
And people can experience us across multiple rooms. And different performances.
It's very meta. It's very meta. But I always say like Pxssy Palace, like if you look at it through the 8 years that's been running, like me and my identity intrinsically, like, so the stronger the policies became is the stronger I became in my identity. Like we were all parallel at once. That's why like now like I have to just treat it as my job. Like it was too much. Me and Pxssy Palace are like one being, and I had to like separate a little bit from it. And now it's just like it's a really amazing job that I'm passionate about, but it's not my identity anymore. It's like way bigger than that.
And something that I feel like that I'm always interested in is these amazing spaces that you've all like cultivated, and they're so successful and wonderful. And I've always wondered how you navigate that with then bringing in other like companies or institutions that you might like partner
we're working with.
Like how do you then navigate that space of your community in the best way, and what is the best practice? Maybe there's people who are wondering as well, like they want to start a night and they want to bring brands on board. Like how does that work? And I know like it can be a difficult, challenging
who wants to take it first?
I can speak on that.
Yeah, go for it.
Because I'm very, very selective with who I work with, because it is like we were all saying, it is a reflection of who I am and in my community. I don't want anyone to touch that sometimes. So with Key, which is only, I think we've only done like 6 parties. I was just like, very reluctant to work with any other groups really, but Eastern Margins were going to every party from the first party, like, and they're like mostly straight crew, but like these like kind of straight guys are like coming to my party, but they were going to every single party, buying tickets to every single one, and I was like, oh, you guys are actually like they were just really supporting. Yeah, and I was just like, oh, I love that, and like really earned my trust actually, and like really uplifted my night, and so like started working with them, and I'm really actually happy with like our community is broad, and like our community is like multifaceted, and I as long as like they're able to understand and center trans people and queer people, then I'm happy to work with them basically. But whereas with a brand, I'm gonna like do a lot more digging, because I don't have that sort of like precedent of like building relationship. So then there needs to be a lot more sort of like established like contractual stuff about like how you're going to then like make sure the majority of the audience is like queer and trans people, rather than like putting like say a trans femme DJ in front of like all these like cis bros. So
I think on one hand it's like fuck brands, like, and then on the other hand it's like
need the money,
take the money and redistribute it to the community.
Yeah.
So it's like, who do I want to fuck with? Do the politics agree with mine? And then if they do, kind of figuring out something that is beneficial for everybody involved, and make sure the community gets paid fairly for the time. But then you see some club nights and some people who are mainly run by like cis white gay men who will take every brand deal and pocket it themselves and not put it back into the community. And like, it's very complicated. But
I've been up and down with it so many times. When I first started Pxssy Palace, like, and brands started to approach us, I was like, no, absolutely not. Stay away from me. I even wrote this like long letter to Nike, like how I would like never work with them, and I think they're so disgusting. Now I'm a brand ambassador, so like, but basically the story with that was that like, it is not, we're all passing the same 20 quid to each other. The ticket sales for Pxssy Palace, full transparency, it's not enough to sustain us, really. Like, and I needed to find like other sources of income. And at the beginning of Pxssy Palace, like, I didn't know about Arts Council funding. I didn't finish school, I didn't go to uni, so I didn't know about all of that stuff really until the last like 2018, 2019. And then I was like, I'm not academic enough to write this. I didn't know about support funding and all this stuff. And now I'm in that world a little bit more. At first it was like, okay, we need this money if we're going to be able to survive. And then we definitely got fucked over by a few brands, because they'd say, yes, we want brand loyalty, or we're going to give to this charity and all this stuff. And now the way that we do it now is they're selective. Even if the brand doesn't necessarily align with our values, usually it's a team within the brand who are queer, who are like, hey, I've got this money and I'm really passionate, and my boss has given me this opportunity to let me do what I want. So we're not really working with the brand, we're working with the team that's hired us. And then it's getting distributed back in the community. It's or it's like funding the business to be able to like go on and do more. But then what we do is like we charge like a cultural consultancy fee, which basically is like, by working with us, then culturally you look better, and we are providing like more, and it's also like a labor for us and our community. So, and that looks like, sometimes it's not always in the form of cash. Sometimes it's like, oh, well, what are you doing to get more trans people, more women, more people of color, like into your workplaces? There's a mentoring there. Can you like give to chatting that all this is like more contractual and more like in a professional setting, whereas in the beginning when I first started working with brands, it was like, can you do this thing? They'd be like, yeah, and then they'd like ignore you, like, or something bad would happen and then they'd be like disappear and like not support you. So it's still like a tricky one that we battle with all the time, but it's like it's filling the holes of like what it needs. Usually that's what like the brand is there for. Yeah,
I guess the aim as well is like that hopefully in a few years we don't have to rely on brands and it will be self-sustaining, like there'll be income and you can this ownership, right? Coming back to that conversation of ownership, we only have 10 minutes left,
right?
So before I open up for questions, I just wanted to ask each and every one of you a final question of what you'd hope to see in the music industry in 5 to 10 years, and like how can things change and what is your vision for that?
Lots of cisgendered, white, old, crusty men stepping down from their positions of power.
They're gonna die.
Yeah, literally. Giving like up those big seats at the head of these corporations and organizations to people of color, to working class people, to queer and trans people, and like really changing things for the better. Because it's gone on for too long. It's fucking shit.
It's the same.
We've done all the work we can do as a community on the ground level. It's the people at the top now who need a change, so it can trickle down to the rest of the ecosystem.
I was going to say that, like, the gay world is essentially assimilationist. You know, as soon as they've got their coin, the doors get shut. You know, it's still like that now. But queer people are really sort of not monetizing, but like are really maximizing their hustle. So I'd like to see, you know, our hustle recognized and to be real, you know, to be, I hate, again, normal, legitimized. No, I don't know if I even mean that, but for it to be, like Lewis says, you know, I mean, it's the only way is to cut the head off the snake.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Burn it all down.
Yeah, as a community, we figured out so many different ways of working and existing that's safer, so people can thrive more and be better, right? Learn from us. We have such incredible ideas.
Yeah.
Have us front these organizations and we can put these ideas, these radical ideas that aren't actually that radical in practice.
No, they're just taking what we have done and like watering it down so that you'll go in and there'll be like this safer space policy just stuck on the door, but no like nothing, no enforcement or like what to do actually if something happens to me, no training and everything like that. So like it's like to answer your question of what I'd like to see in 5 to 10 years, it's actually a little bit of a struggle for me to think about that because I'm just like coming off the back of like some burnout and it's like what is the, and with everything that's going on in the world right now, it's like, oh, what is the future, you know? Sometimes it's scary, but I guess if I think about, and it's always good in this job, you have to be hopeful, otherwise you will just not hold on. So if I'm a thread of hope there is that like we'll at least see some more like venues and more spaces that can house us because we don't have that right now. I just came back from New York and it's like so much choice. Like in Berlin, there's so much choice and it's like you can't just go somewhere just to like go and have a drink or not have a drink or just go and chill. Like for queer people, it's not really there. Yes, we've got Dawson Superstore, but that's really it.
We need physical spaces.
We need physical because all queer
people of color.
All queerness lives in the temporary. I'm looking for permanency. That's like the proudest thing I could say about Pxssy Past, the fact that it's lasted this long. Seen so many people come and go over the years. Like permanency is something that doesn't exist, especially in this country, and that's what I'd like to see.
If you could repurpose any space in London as a nightlife
JY. Yeah, JY in heaven. I've never been. 17 years in London, I've never been. So the first time I go in there, it's because it's mine. Like, you know.
And June, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, what keeps kind of coming back to me is like self-sustainability. We have all of the people with all of the skill set to do all of these roles. Yeah. So again, it's just about toppling these like power structures so that like we have queer and POC like filling every single role in like this ecosystem. Yeah, that's what I want to see. I know that like the talent is out there. I
Absolutely.
see them in the positions.
Queer supremacy.
Exactly.
We have about 5 minutes left for questions. I just want to make sure that we have some time if there was any from the audience.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
We don't buy unless you ask us to.
Yeah.
Consent
is key.
No questions?
Oh, come on. Don't be shy.
I have a question. No?
No?
Oh, is that? Yeah? No? Silence. Right. I wanted to ask if if you could change, or if you could have or change one thing right now, it's only one thing, what would it be in order, well, I guess in the light of what we're talking about, supporting trans, non-binary people, women, like what could that be, that one thing that you could just...
Job entry. What do you mean, like within nightlife?
Nightlife,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so like it would be job entry. Like I feel like if Pxssy Palace can do it, if we're a group of people that are completely not, that have no experience in this at all, and then we're doing like big stages and taking over cocoa and fabric and selling out these things, and we've got a team of people who have never done that before that are doing it very successfully. Like the compliments that they get all the time are like, wow, that was such really tight, that was a well-run team, like thank you so much, like it was really good, love to work with you again. Like, so if that can happen just from some training from some experienced queer people in the community and letting people get a chance to do that, and then they're doing it so well, like I wish that like other people in positions of power, other like music groups, dance music group, resident advisor, fabric, whoever, all of them would have like, hey, let's do this like paid internship, mentoring, like doing entry level jobs to letting people get a chance. Because the thing is, they just don't get a chance to come and work in these industries, like because of all of the issues and the things that we are the things that we have to fight against us as queer and like trans people. Like, so it's entry level jobs that you don't have experience in to get into. That's what I'd like to see.
I remember when Acid House happened, right? I'm prior to that, right? And we looked at going out as a lifestyle choice, not as a job, not as a professional thing. So we just carried on taking our drugs and partying. Meanwhile, the people that were money orientated bought Acid House from under us, and then took it, you know, Mystery of Sound, millions, money was there, and a lot of people missed out on that, you know. And I think now queer people not only have to look good and, you know, be dynamic, but also have to be professional, because it's not, you know, capitalism is evil, we know that, but we have to work within it. And the only way is to seize, I sound like Marx, you know, seize the means of production. It's the only way. Absolutely. We have to have queer sound system owners, queer building owners, you know, the actual right at the top. Not like, you know, I'm not talking about like, you know, record companies, but we have to have that as well. We have to be everywhere, you know, in all sorts of, we have to have queer drink suppliers. We have to have
sound, lighting tech, grafters, like everything.
100%. And we can train them.
Absolutely.
We've got the skills now. We can, you know, we can go out and train, you know, make people, you know, it becomes their life.
And lastly, we're talking about things that we would want to change. I would love to ask each of you, like, what does your community need?
Money.
Yeah.
Money and like I guess like training, you know,
opportunities.
Yeah, money management, that'd be great.
And I think we need to be taught how to spot these things.
Yeah, financial literacy.
Yeah.
Financial literacy is a big one.
Yeah.
I think just like a bridge to bring us all together, right? We only get to have conversations like this when somebody brings us together for a panel, but actually we need to be more centralized. We are like lots of little islands in a big ocean. We need to become one big landmass and communicate and support each other, because actually if you combine the power that we have as like different community leaders and promoters and DJs, and combine our platforms and the people who take so much pleasure and joy from the things we think, like we can like rally these people up. We can demand the change we need within society.
So much power.
So it's a reminder that we have so much power.
But also, like, back to what Nadine was saying, maybe I wanted to sort of center this thing about play as well, but without the pressure of it being tied to capital.
Yeah.
Like, because, it is just, like, so precarious right now. And so play is loaded. It's hard to, like, find these, like, opportunities to get to have play, or where, like, you're not worrying about, like, feeding yourself or feeding your, you know, the rest of your community. So, I don't know. Yeah.
I agree.
How do we feel free enough to play? That's my question.
Right.
And on that, I think that's a really
I agree.
place. How do we feel free enough to play? Thank you so much. That's been
you.
amazing.